Welcome back, my name is LastKnownMeal and today I'm going to talk about ELEX. So in this video I'm going to make something like a comparison between Gothic and ELEX because a lot of people asked me to talk about it to see how similar Gothic and ELEX are when you're playing this game. Now, first of all, as I said in my previous videos that I made about this game, like the first thing I experienced when I started playing this game was it definitely reminded me of Gothic. Now, for all of you that are not familiar with Piranha Bytes, basically they're a German studio and their first game was Gothic, an RPG which wasn't, well, famous in the entire world, but overall, that RPG, even to this day, sets a certain standard when it comes to level design, when it comes to faction system and everything. Honestly, Gothic, in my opinion, is one of the best RPGs of all time. Again, those things are different person to person. Every single gamer has a different taste when it comes to RPG. So after so many years of somewhat being silent and producing Risen, for example, because Risen 1 is also one of the games that reminded me of Gothic so much, and I believe that when they were making Risen, they wanted to create something new, something fresh, but still keep that environment and level design that they used in previous Gothic games. Now, when we talk about ELEX, well, ELEX is supposed to be this synthesis between their medieval level design and character design and world design. Basically, it's using arrows and bows and swords and all that kind of stuff. And one of those factions are the Berserkers, and they're definitely the faction that they want to use to basically go back to their old games, which were all set in medieval fantasy worlds. They did not make sci-fi games. And on the other hand, you have plasma weapons and, you know, technology that is present in ELEX, and it's supposed to be something new. Now, for a lot of people, this synthesis between, you know, medieval weaponry and then modern weapons is something which can be unique on one hand, but strange and kind of, how would I say, people, when they see all of these weapons, for example, all of this, they're just saying, hey, what if they're just trying to please everyone, and then on the other side, they're not going to please anyone at all. I've seen a lot of people say that this game feels strange to them, and it honestly it does, because when you have this world of Magalan, which was hit by a meteor, you can see remnants of, you know, the old world, basically the modern world we are living in right now. And on the other hand, you have people going back to nature, and like, nothing can be so amazing than having medieval in the sci-fi modern era, because you see this difference between old and new. But even when implementing new weapons and new technologies into their game, Piranha Bytes still manages to give us their own experience on how they make video games. Level design, character development, quests, and everything remind me of Gothic so much. Now, when people are talking about this game and compare it to Gothic, they say, well, it could go, like, it could pass with Gothic 1 and 2, but we are living in 2017 right now. Maybe some of the things that are present in this game, like animations and that kind of stuff, what if that is still not up to standards of today? Because today we have a lot of RPG games that made new standards of how an RPG should look like. And with all these problems, ELEX still reminds me a lot about Gothic. And it's in those small details. For example, in Gothic 1 and 2, you had NPCs talking when you go past them, and they talked in a very similar, unique way. They would whisper to each other somehow. And now in ELEX, when I was going through the Berserker village, I saw like two Berserkers talking in the same way, and anyone who played Gothic will understand what I'm talking about. So, honestly guys, yes, it's really easy to compare this game to Gothic, and in some way, yes, this is a spiritual successor to their previous game, Gothic. So, a lot of people also asked me, like, does this mean that we're not going to have Gothic? Does this mean that Piranha Bytes is now moving into a different direction? They're going to go with ELEX 2, ELEX 3, they're not going to go back to Gothic. Now, Piranha Bytes does have rights to produce a Gothic game. Nothing is stopping them. But on the other hand, the problem with Gothic, in my opinion, after Gothic 2 was the story. Story became so, well, complicated, and, you know, there was a lot of things happening, and even in Gothic 3, like, Piranha Bytes did not have enough time to finish that game. And at the end of the day, like, the ending of the Gothic 3 was semi-good in my opinion. It wasn't as rewarding as endings in Gothic 1 and 2. So yes, this game could definitely be something as a spiritual successor to Gothic, and Piranha Bytes could be moving in that direction. Now, other thing that I like about this game and I liked about Gothic is the faction system. When joining a faction in a Piranha Bytes game, you do need to prove yourself. You do need to say, hey, well, you gotta put in a hard work. You need to earn our trust so we can basically accept you in our ranks. And the first thing I noticed with ELEX is just that. People will try to trick you. You do need to think about the big picture, because with every single NPC you talk and every single decision you make will affect the future. And that is what I love about an RPG, is I don't want basically my guy being all the same, and every single discussion or talk with another NPC to be just the same. Hey, get the info and get out, and just be a fetch quest and we are done. No, in ELEX, as in, of course, in Gothic and Risen, especially Risen 1, every single decision you make and how you talk with those characters is going to in some way reflect in the future. So what could happen is that at the beginning of ELEX, for example, you have a choice to make. You're either going to go and explore these ruins and get more reward and more elixir and that kind of stuff, or you're going to choose an easy path. You're not going to gain this guy's trust, he's not going to respect you, and you're just going to miss a chance to have a companion which is going to help you in a fight against those enemies. You can just choose the easy way, go back, do it yourself, but still, they're going to think of you as a coward. And every single faction has their own agenda, every single faction has their own goal. And you need to really think about every single one of them. How do you feel about their ideals? Do you agree with Berserkers that you shouldn't use technology and you should just go back to nature, use magic, or use bows and arrows and axes and shields and, I don't know, medieval weapons? Or do you go in a different direction, not really with the elves and become a baddie? No, you can just join the outlaws and be free to do whatever you want. Maybe you don't like rules. And that is what's amazing about a game like ELEX. It's the same as Gothic. Do whatever you want and do it however you please. So it's up to you to decide which faction you want to join, which faction do you trust the most, and at the end of the day, with every single quest, you can kind of make it to benefit the most. In some cases, there's going to be a decision to be fair or to kind of use the situation for your advantage, and you have to decide if you're going to do it or not. That's the same thing I used in Gothic. So yeah, in my opinion, honestly, ELEX is definitely a spiritual successor to Gothic games. And in my opinion, it's even more of a spiritual successor right now, and even with the music. Like, the music scores in this game remind me of the one in Gothic. So this game is more of a spiritual successor to Gothic than Risen was in my opinion. Yes, when I was playing Risen, of course, it was a Piranha Bytes game, it had its magic. But ELEX is something new, something different, it has depth to it, it has those RPG elements that make a good RPG, that make you think, same as Gothic did. And on the other hand, with all the issues that this game faces, for example, combat, which can be so iffy at times, the camera lock, which can, like every single time I'm fighting an enemy, it can be a problem. And at the same time, with all those animation and combat problems, this game is still great. And I'm going to make more videos on it. So guys, that's all I have for this video. If you do have anything to say, please drop it down in the comment section below. Also, don't forget to smash that like and subscribe button, and visit me up on Twitter at LastKnownMeal for more info. This is LastKnownMeal signing out, and stay classy everyone. Bye bye.
Ugh.